Hi everyone. Today I'm working on making some 18-inch rounds. I had a customer reach out and she needs 15 of these pieces done. She is a few states away, but we're pumping them out, getting them done so she can get them on. She can receive them this Friday. So my laser, as some of you know, the Nova24 only has a 16 by 24 work area, and that's of course rounding it up. So it's not a true 16 and it's not a true 24. So since these rounds are 18-inch, I have to cut them out of a piece that is, I cut them out of this 19 by 19 piece of birch. I have to use a pass-through for this. So let's see here. That's the board for the first run. This is the board after the first run. We've got our targets on both sides here. And on the second run is where we line up to these targets, line up our output to those targets. And that way we're able to cut the 18-inch rounds out of this. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera around so you guys can see what the first cut looks like. So this is real time. I'm running it at 10 millimeters per second speed, and I've got my power a little high just because I want to make sure that I get through without any problems, just in case there's any slight imperfections in the material, core. So here we go. Alright, so that's first cut. Let's get into the second cut. And this is the second run after I have aligned my output to both of these targets here. So let's go ahead and get this started. Yep, spot on. Okay, so there's our 18-inch round. Let's check this out. Okay, so here's our 18-inch round. So fairly smooth cut all the way around. I don't know if you noticed, but there was a slight, I had to push it off of the push it out from the board that this was cut from. But what that was is there was one slight imperfection on the back end of the board, which you know, popped out fairly clean. This is due to my knife blades being a little dirty, but that's the back side, that's the front side. That's a stock air with the valve fully open, so we get the maximum amount of air out of that pump, which produces a very clean cut. So I guess I can show you how I run it back over at my computer. Okay, so I don't know how to screen record yet. I'm fairly new to this recording and posting them up on YouTube. So this is the file that I use. This is the file that I sent to my laser. The first cut was these two targets and this part of the circle. The second cut was these two targets in the lower portion of the circle. On the second cut, you need to, well, the first cut, you can send this entire thing. You don't need to worry about lining up, you know, well, you do need to worry about lining up your material so that, you know, you actually make your cut on top of your material. So what I do is I usually highlight whatever I want to send over. When I'm using the pass-through, I highlight whatever I want to send over, come up here and move to page center. Then after I move this section to page center, whatever's left outside of the work area does not get sent with it. So after I have this where I want it in page center, I come over here and click send. So I send it to the Ruida controller onto the laser. I pull it up by selecting the file. So the way you do that is you hit file on your Ruida controller and you use your up and down arrows to select the file that you want to load or to run, and then you hit enter, and that will let the laser know that that's the file that you want to run. So after I run this file, what I do is come back here, take this off of my work area on my light burn. Then I select. By the way, none of this is grouped. So when you select it, you want to select the whole thing. You can manually place it onto your work area in light burn, or you can just move to page center. So the second cut, after you slide your board up a little further into the back of the laser, the second cut, or the placement of this file on our work area here in light burn doesn't really matter, because what we're using is these two targets to align the output to these two targets that we sent in our first file. Okay, so we move our laser head to the center of this target on the laser bed. Then we come here. Once you have it centered on top of that target, you come here, select your first target, and you come down to Tools, Print and Cut, set the first target position. Then, after it highlights it red, that means it's registered in the software. After you do that, you run back to your laser, you move your laser head over to your second target, and if you need to slow down the speed so that you can get a little more precision and place it right in the center of the second target, what you can do is you hit speed on your Burrito controller on the top of your laser, and you use your arrow keys to move over to the tenths and the hundreds and the thousands, and you can bump that down. I like to set mine all the way down to 1 millimeter per second. Then you hit enter, and then you makes it a little easier for you to center it onto your target. So once you have it centered on the second target, what you do is select your second target, go back into tools, print and cut, set second target position. Then this highlights it blue, lets you know it's registered. The machine or the software knows what's going to happen. So when you send it to your machine, it does what you're telling it to do. So after you have both of these registered, go back to tools, print and cut, and you align output to targets. So then it highlights them green. Lets you know that it's print and cut is ready to go. You can see here right above the pause where it says ready for print and cut. So after you've done this, you send this file over to your laser. It's going to ask me if I want to overwrite it. So you hit yes. It might not ask you if you want to overwrite it if this is the first time you're running this file with the same name. I usually send multiple files under the name of Lightburn, so it replaces them fairly easy. They're files that I don't need to save on the controller. So after you send it over, you run back to your laser and you select file on your Burrito controller. Make sure that you pull up the correct file on that controller, hit enter, and once you have the correct file pulled up on your controller, you hit start. And what your machine should do is, I like to set mine up to where it scores before it makes any cuts, and that is in this section here in your cuts and layers section on Lightburn. So make sure that you have your scores set to output before your cuts. So I have my score before my cuts. So that way when you run this second file, before you send it, make sure this is in the correct order. So that way when you run this file, it will trace these targets, and you can be sure that your cut will continue where it needs to continue and meet up with the rest of your circle or the rest of your cut. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna try and continue to make these videos. I know they might help somebody, and I want to share the knowledge that I've learned and picked up along the way. Thank you guys.